Honestly, creativity and passion without discipline is useless.
So, Farhan, if I start with your role in terms of being a writer, being a producer, being a director, actor, and singer, we have loved you in every format. So, tell me, how does it come naturally to you in terms of switching the roles between different segments?
Yeah, to a certain extent it does. I guess that's the reason to be able to do it. But I guess one has to keep working at it and keep trying to improve oneself as the journey progresses. So that's really where I'm at.
So, when you got into this creative aspect, I mean, were there any lessons you learned from the family? Because, of course, you come from a family which has been into the cinema, they've lived arts, and all this continues to guide you and your professional journey. So, any anecdote you wish to share from your childhood journey, I mean, from while growing up?
I don't know if I necessarily have any one anecdote as such, but I think I've imbibed a lot from my father, from my mother, and from Shabana. Which really is, seeing the kind of work that they do, not just in film, but even otherwise in the social space, in the creative space outside film, is to always try and remind yourself what it is about the work that we do that we loved enough to get ourselves into it, and to stay true to that idea of what it meant. Because as time progresses and as one continues to do the same kind of work over and over again, in a different way. Of course, you're playing a different role, maybe as an actor, but when you're directing a film. When you're writing. So just to remind yourself that it's not just a 9 to 5 job. That there is something unique about what we get to do. We should be very grateful for it, because it's not a very massive industry, and people who have the option and the opportunity to be able to be selective about what they write, be selective about what they produce, be selective about what they can act in. That's a very blessed place to be in. So to remind myself that can't be taken for granted. I think I get that from them. And also to remain true to the voice that I have as a creator.
If I could go back in time and ask you initially, what was it which brought you towards production? I mean, were these stories, were these your love for cinema and or for the art? What was it?
Yeah, I loved movies when I was growing up. I loved movies. I loved music, and it was like I knew somewhere inside of me that is the world that I wanted to belong to. Obviously, for a long time, as any kid would struggle to really understand which path it would be. But the fact that it would be something to do with this form of public engagement and public entertainment is something that I think I was very clear about from a young age.
And when we talk about creativity, is it something which comes to you spontaneously, or you have a disciplined set of life which you follow?
Honestly, creativity and passion without discipline is useless. It's what you do with maybe an ability or a talent, or a knack that you have. It's what you do with it that really does matter. So discipline to me is probably the most important thing to sustain a career, and to do your work well.
What do you rely on for this creativity? Does it come naturally to you, or do you travel? I mean, produce more music?
So having experiences outside film, so whether it's with traveling, reading, meeting people, meeting friends, exchanging ideas that are not related to film, people who are from diverse different backgrounds that are not true to your own, speaking with them, spending time with them, music of course, but I think reading is probably a big thing. Be it fiction, be it non-fiction, be it just a newspaper, whatever it is that you get into reading. But that to feed your creativity, I think is probably one of the biggest sources that can fuel your creativity, because it's actually it exercises your mind.
So how do you keep things aligned in terms of whether everyone keeps attached to that single vision and keeps themselves disciplined to achieving that.
It's a journey that everyone takes together. I feel as a director, especially, it's more than anything else. I mean, I think the first task really is to align yourself with people who believe in the project as much as you do. Who are going to think of it as more than a job, that they really see that there's something special in the script. I mean, even if it's just as simple as we know we'll have a really fun time making it, so let's approach it with that hat. And of course, I mean, at times, depending on the nature of the film, it can be very tiring, it can be very demanding, it can be very challenging physically, mentally, emotionally. It can be all of that, but that's really where the team comes into play. Where people help each other along and keep moving the film forward. So which is why I said, I mean, like, aligning yourself for whom this film is as important as it is for you, as the creator of the film, is very, very important.
And in Excel, you've partnered with Jitesh. So one of you always keeps ensuring that you stick to your vision. If one of you is going the other way.
I mean, yeah, of course, I would like to believe that both of us have a very positive influence on each other with everything in life. So filmmaking is just one part of that, but our relationship is beyond just making films together.
So what does define the choice of films you do?
Just an instinct that's telling us when we're reading something or when we begin to write something, that this feels like it'll be enjoyable for people to watch. And that's all you have.
If you have multiple projects going on and you're into various other things, you're a multi-hyphenate right now. So how do you manage your time and also decide, okay, where I want to keep my focus?
Well, I mean, you have to keep your focus on the thing at hand. That's very crucial because, I mean, that's the most demanding of attention right now. So right now, 120 Bahadur is going to be releasing in November. So that's the one that really demands all the attention that it needs. And that's followed very closely on the heels with preparation that's happening on Dawn 3, which will start post the release of 120 Bahadur. So those to me are the priorities right now. That's what I'm focused on. And everything else that's happening, I mean, we have an incredible team here at Excel, not just Ritesh and myself. We have producers who independently put films together for us. So, I mean, and we trust them implicitly with what they're doing. So once Ritesh and I have heard a script, once we've okayed a script, I mean, then it's championed really by the producers that work here. So that's really how it is, and that does take a load off.
And Farhan, what kind of business lessons have you learned while setting up Excel Entertainment and working in the production space for so many years?
I think the biggest lesson and the biggest takeaway is that if one is to succeed or one is to fail, it is best done on one's own belief. And so try not to get influenced by the noise outside. Try not to get influenced by what seems to be the trend right now. The films that we end up remembering, the films that on somehow make a difference to us, are the films that end up swimming against the stream of what is popular in that moment, because they change the syntax. Don't try and be like an imitation of someone else or a bad copy of somebody else. Just try and be as original and as true to yourself as you can. So that's my biggest learning.
Creativity in your case has also has to give return in terms of commercial success, or success in terms of the money which is put behind every venture. So how do you ensure that there's a perfect balance between creativity and the success of the venture?
So to me, a creative producer, a good producer, is someone who can find the way, the system, a method, a resource, or for the lack of another way of putting it, the Indian word that we all love, jugaad, of putting a project together that still allows the storyteller to say it in his or her own way, but somehow minimizes maybe the risk aspect of what's associated with that film.
Any particular moment or anecdote which you can share which actually defined the way you always thought about filmmaking or movies, but changed your mindset completely or opened a new world for you?
What happened in my experience and my journey with the film Laksh was a very, very big, not only learning for me in terms of the making of it, because I went from making a film like Dil Chahta Hai, which was very comfortable in terms of the kind of story that it was and the kind of characters that it represented. It was comfortable for me to make that film. But making Laksh immediately after was a very different ballgame. You know, it was representative of an institution, an establishment that is rightfully very respected. So I wanted to make sure that when anybody who wears a uniform or has worn a uniform in the past or will choose to wear one in the future watches this film, they should see a film that represents them very, very accurately. You know, and that it stand the test of time, at least in that function and in that department, as far as the representation of the armed forces is concerned. So learning about that and really kind of submerging myself and wanting to get that right was a huge learning. Making that film was not easy. We were in Ladakh for 5.5 months filming at a time when nobody had gone and shot there for that duration of time. There were no mobile phones at that time. Connectivity was really bad. You know, and of course the weather was a challenge. Everything was a challenge. But I mean, like I said in your earlier answer, it really was the result of a group of almost 300 plus people who were there coming together to make that film happen in the way that it did. So learning about teamwork in films, learning about how important the morale of a crew is, learning how important, you know, that it really felt like I grew up on that film as a filmmaker. And so I was a bit deflated when it kind of just had an average box office run. And somehow I always felt that film did not achieve what I had hoped that it would. And that idea of what that film meant changed for me many years later, because the film released in 2004, and in 2017 I went to the IMA to visit, and I was taken to a hall where there were all the young cadets who are now training and getting ready to join the army and the armed forces. And somebody asked them while I was present there, that how many of you have come here because of the film Laksh? You know, and almost 60 to 70% of them put their hands up.
Wow.
That they had enlisted themselves into the armed forces because they were on some level inspired or partly inspired by that film in their decision making. And it gave me a whole new perspective of what films are, you know, and what films can also mean, and what the success of a film can also mean. And so not to restrict it just to box office, and not to restrict it just to a number.
I'm also a big fan of Laksh.
Oh, thank you.
And Farhan, one piece of advice I want from you is that you've remained relevant in the world of cinema for so many years, and you're a perfect example of that. Any words of wisdom you have for professionals and entrepreneurs on staying relevant?
So I think humility, gratitude, and always keeping your heart and your ears and your mind open to what is happening around you in the changing times, I think is very critical.
Thank you so much, Farhan, for taking out time and talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful chatting with you.